I just watched an agenda clip with Steve Bacon, and they were right up my alley. They were talking about new media, basically, or what I remember as new media. David Rockaby was part of the panel, and we studied him a bit in my new media lectures. Um, so it was interesting. I mean, it kind of jogged my memory, and I remember maybe, well, I don't know, 2, 3 years ago, maybe even more than that. A friend of mine showed me a website with paintings on there, and you had to choose which was computer generated and which was made by humans. And essentially, it was very easy to basically judge which was human and which was non-human. Um, or I might have been mistaken about that. It might have been between kids and real artists. Yeah, that's what it was. It was between kids and real artists. And obviously, all the paintings were abstract. You know, um, but you could definitely tell which ones were the adults and which ones were the kids. And I think the salient point is basically understanding the level of detail in each. Anything that looked like there were very volitioned strokes of the brush, you could tell was or deliberate strokes of the brush, you could tell was basically an adult painting. But I think part of what they were discussing on the agenda is just basically the fact that AI is actually generating artwork, especially in the visual arts. They had two other panelists, literature and music, but I think especially in the visual arts, AI is getting kind of frighteningly close to being very human. And as David Rockaby beautifully put it, like the artwork isn't complete or it doesn't even exist until the viewer sees it, right? So I mean, um, if AI were creating artwork and nobody ever saw it, artwork might have well been dead. But you could definitely, I mean, when you get into these artsy ideas, you could definitely say the same about anything. You could look at anything and get some sort of emotional or intellectual response from it. So I mean, with that spirit, I would say that for a long time, people have been working with computers and artificial intelligences to create work, at least work, right? I mean, we've all emailed, we've all communicated through a computer in one way or the other. I know with the advent of YouTube and Facebook, and you have a much richer experience of a computer because everything's networked, and you could definitely create some even modes of operation or modes of communication that can't be quite easily done in person or over the phone or whatever. I mean, it's immediate. It could travel at the speed of light across the globe. There's teleconferencing. There's all this. So my point being is we've been doing this computer human collaboration for a very long time, since the 80s, and even before then. It's definitely become more democratic since then, and it's definitely become much more available to basically people of different classes and social backgrounds and from different countries, et cetera, et cetera. So there's new meanings that emerge from having this plethora of, or from this availability, right, at the speed of light. Um, but I think AI, to reiterate, is just getting dangerously close for a lot of people, especially writers. And I think writers are getting a little bit worried because um, it takes away the pride with which they write, the feeling that there is a very felt and visceral story to be told from the perspective of a writer. And if computers can do it, then without having consciousness, I mean, it kind of puts people on very uneven ground. Well, not uneven ground, but on the ground that we're a little bit um, uncomfortable, or what is it to be human? I mean, the same thing happened with photography and abstract painting, right? Suddenly representation was just beautifully perfect and beautifully accurate. And then all of a sudden, painting didn't have to do that anymore. You think about the Dutch Golden Age, et cetera, et cetera. All of a sudden, painting had to go all crazy, and you end up with impressionism and abstract expressionism and surrealism and you name it, right? Um, Fluxists and all sorts of crazy things that the medium had to do. So I think now humans are the ones having to go all fucking crazy and do whatever it is they have to do because AI is getting very close. So anyway, so that was just a matter of interest because I didn't really want to talk about that. And maybe my main point, the second point I want to make, is related somehow. I guess you could make up the meaning in your head, but it's not related to that. but because it's in the compressed in the same video, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of relational thing. But I listened to the latest Sam Harris podcast, and he was talking to Max Tegmark and Rebecca Goldstein about, or actually no, it was an audience question, and the audience member asked about the Christian roots of morality, and Sam Harris gave a response that was kind of close to something I was thinking about and made a video about in terms of talking about where morality comes from. And he basically said, well, morality doesn't actually come from evolution, since evolution itself gives us these moral standpoints that are quite frankly violent and horrible. I mean, you talk about survival of the fittest, et cetera, and you're thinking about things like killing and blood and murder and gory things, blah blah blah. But my point was basically saying, in response to Yaron Brook, who claims that the Four Horsemen use Christendom or Christian morality, but they just don't mention it, or they don't claim that it comes from Christianity. And it kind of made me think about the gay rights thing too, right? Where does homophobia, to lack of a better word, where does anti-gay bigotry come from? I would definitely say it comes from it's concreted by Christian morality. But I mean, to be honest, I mean, like Senator says things about, issues surrounding disgust of homosexuality, et cetera, et cetera. I think it even goes down to what Julia Kristeva calls the object. Um, I think, uh, I think, without ruining my own point about Christian morality being kind of irrelevant when it comes to the origins of morality, yes, evolution does give bad examples of morality, but I think it's still everything that we think about in terms of emotional responses and moralistic responses to things does have its root in evolution. I really do believe that, and biology. I mean, like like God Sad says, right? Like the brain is not some magical machine. It's an evolutionary tool, just like any other part of your body, and that's where morality comes from. But I'm not using the word morality to mean just good things or just altruism. I'm saying morality as a broad concept of which includes certain attitudes and opinions on certain things in society, blah blah blah. So I think yeah, the root still is in evolutionary in evolution. Like it's still everything still does come from there. And I'm not saying that there isn't a sociocultural or a political influence, but I think the pinnings are from evolutionary behavior and understanding of things. So maybe that hopefully that makes sense. But that's all I got for now. Yeah, bye.